Hey there, MSPs and IT pros. Welcome to the RocketMSP Podcast, where we ask the tough questions. Today, my guest is Amy Luby from Seceon, a cybersecurity company that provides AI, XDR, and SIEM services to MSPs. Now, if you're new to the show, here's how it works. We're going to start with questions for us to get to know my guest and their services better. After Q&A, we're going to do show and tell, the segment where we get a demo of their product or service and get to ask more questions about how it works. So without further ado, let's bring on my guest. Hi, Amy.
Hey, how are you, Steve?
I'm doing very well. How are you doing?
I'm great, and I'm super happy to be here. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. So I just want to dive right on in, and there's so much I feel like we could talk about when it comes to Seceon. Because you guys are doing something a little different, I think, from what all of the other cybersecurity vendors are doing out there.
We really are, but that's our challenge, is taking something that is perceived for a good reason and being complex and making it simple. So therein lies our Seceon challenge with all that's going on.
Sure. So if you could do a better job than me and explain what exactly is it that Seceon does for people, for MSPs?
So in a sentence, what Seceon does is we enable MSPs and MSSPs really to reduce their cyber threat risk and the complexity of their security stack. Right? Gotten a lot of less lately with adding more and more products, but reducing that complexity while at the same time actually enabling them to not only detect and prevent breaches, but respond and remediate in real time and automatically. So we're taking them beyond, or I shouldn't say taking them beyond, enabling our partners to go beyond just prevention to actual detection and remediation.
Okay. I think that makes sense.
Yeah, and I think it will more as we get into it, like what we do and how we work. But, let me break it down. For right now, MSPs have kind of a couple choices in delivering a full stack, if you will, of security services, right? Mm-hmm. From endpoint protection all the way up to threat hunting and SIEM platform automation, right? And the options today are you can buy all the tools, all the products, you can integrate them, you can hire all the SOC and security analyst staff to manage those tools. That's one option, and it's a viable option. The other option is to outsource to a managed SIEM SOC or an MDR vendor. Both of those scenarios are expensive. In the outsourcing scenario, you're outsourcing control, visibility, and losing a lot of margin. What Seceon believes is that with the right platform and the right automation, you can actually bring that in-house without having to hire a huge team of SOC analysts. If the platform is doing the work for you, and that's what the Seceon platform does. It actually does all that work for the MSP to give them the visibility, to give them the control, and to enable them to automatically detect and respond to whatever events are going on before shit hits the fan, basically. I think I lost your audio.
That's because I'm sneezing and coughing and I keep hitting mute. Sorry. So I love that explanation because it sounds like what you're really trying to do is enable MSPs to keep more of the profits by outsourcing less because they don't necessarily feel like experts in all the things, right? And that's the hardest part is, there's all these new cybersecurity things that MSPs really should be doing or working with maybe an MSSP, right? And I don't want to name names, but you probably have seen the chaos on LinkedIn where there's a cybersecurity vendor that they're running ads, and I think they turned them off because I stopped seeing them. But they were running ads that basically said, "Turn your MSP into an MSSP in one day," and that's, I'm sorry, but I'm gonna use some language here. That's freaking bullshit. Because there's even you can't even onboard a new cybersecurity vendor in a single day and have it all doing its job, let alone be allowed, in my opinion, to use such a, I don't know, high, like, I feel like MSSP, that's like a whole new bar, right? And whether an MSP has all these tools that are doing the work for them, I don't think it's fair to say you're an MSSP if you don't have the experience and expertise to back that claim. I don't think tools alone should be what the differentiator is. Does that make sense?
It does. You know what I see when I go out to the conferences and I watch, and whether it's a vendor or whether it's a consulting firm, whatever they are, there's a lot of acronyms being thrown around. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of, hey, we have AI and ML, and therefore we do it all. And there's what I perceive as a lot of confusion for the MSPs in knowing, okay, is this tool and this tool and this tool, like, there's overlap in what they do. I still have gaps. I'm not sure exactly what the gaps are. And I'm going to outsource this piece of it. So now I really don't know where my gaps are. To me, it's kind of like walking on quicksand. It's hard to get a grasp. And I think that, talking about SIEM has been something that maybe MSPs, see as something that they just really can't grasp, because they're going to need a whole team of security analysts, and they need to be able to know exactly what all these acronyms mean and what they mean for them and for their end users. And so there's that skills gap, which you mentioned, and how do we bridge the gap? I'm not convinced that outsourcing is the answer. And to your point, Steve, I think the MSSP has taken the tack of, I'm going to bring all the tools in-house. I'm going to upskill my staff. I'm going to have analysts on staff, and I'm going to deliver this perceived higher level of service, right? Mm-hmm. And then some MSPs have partnered with MSSPs. I think with the way it's going, that line is very blurred between an MSSP and an MSP.
Sure. I think that makes sense. And I guess what I'm trying to say is I don't think it's bad for there to be tools that enable MSSPs to automate some of what they're doing and have less staff overhead, right? But I do think that there is a knowledge gap between an MSP and an MSSP. Regardless of if the MSP gets all the tools or not, there's that knowledge gap in between the staff of an MSP and an MSSP.
Exactly. And one of the really cool things that I actually discovered when I got here to Seceon, hearing our partners give the feedback. So you'll see in the demo, inside our console, you can actually see all the different events and alerts, right? And you can drill down. But what you see at the top of the screen is the MITRE framework and all the MITRE techniques that the different attacks use, basically. So in that console, if you have admins or junior admins who maybe want to be cyber experts. You can upskill your team because the platform actually shows you, okay, see, last week there was this installed on that machine over there. The reason that it's an alert is because of this, and it's using this MITRE technique. Now, yesterday we saw something installed over here. Oh, by the way, it's using this technique, and they can see it all there and why it's important and why they correlate.
That's really cool. Now, we kind of touched on, some of the benefits and some of the features, like from a high level. So let's dig in a little deeper. So from what I've gathered, Seceon has like 3 services that you guys offer, and that's XDR, SIEM, and then you also have a SOC, right?
Correct. So,
Okay.
so we have our main, our SIEM platform, our AI, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's everything that it implies. What we do is we ingest all the telemetry, flows, the events, whatever it is. We ingest it from everywhere, right? Frankly, whether it's on premise, whether it's in the cloud, applications, IoT, OT, anything that has information, we will ingest it. We will correlate and analyze it in real time, right? And we can detect, and we'll watch, and we will bubble up those alerts to you. The interesting thing about the AI SIEM is this. There's literally billions of events going on, right? And hundreds of thousands of them could indicate that there's a problem. Through our correlation and threat detection models, we're able to bubble up the real alerts so that the MSP isn't inundated, with what could be a problem alert, but rather a critical issue. And that critical issue is made up of, let's say, 4, 5, 6 different alerts that have been correlated together. So it greatly reduces the amount of noise, the amount of false positives, and it brings to the surface actionable things. Does that make sense?
It does. It does. Now, I'm dying to know, like, how does the AI or machine learning work on the background? And I don't mean like all the technical mumbo jumbo, right? I mean, like, at what point does AI stop and we have to have common sense enough to go in and like do a thing?
Sure. Well, so I'll answer it a couple different ways. So the AI machine learning, the threat models, the correlation engines, what they do is they give you, the user, right, visibility across everything, whether it's your end users, your application device, cloud, whatever. And the benefit, the value there is that you have a faster mean time to threat detection and to response. Okay. That's the bottom line. It helps you respond faster and better. So you have more and better context of what's going on, and you have real-time automation in response. And when you see the demo, you'll see, to your point, what is actionable and what's not actionable. And you can tell the platform, you can either push a button to remediate, basically. Okay. And there are playbooks in there to help you do this. Like we have over 300 playbooks. If it's this type of threat on this type of device, then do this. And you can actually edit those and make them your own as well. So you can press a button to make that workflow go, or you can tell the platform, if you see this, then do this all the time, some of the time, do it only on weekends when I'm sleeping, whatever. So it's super flexible in that regard. Does that help kind of?
It does. It does. So let's talk about how Seceon can help MSPs. So how would you say that Seceon helps MSPs differentiate themselves from their competitors?
So differentiation comes really, in my mind for this, it's real-time remediation without the outsourcing. So you're lowering your risk for your client, you're giving them less downtime, you're giving them faster and easier audits, you're helping them lower their cyber insurance rates, all of those things. You're helping them meet compliance needs. All of this can be demonstrated in the platform and with the platform. In fact, so we have pre-configured templates for all of the different security frameworks like NIST or CMMC. So you can apply those frameworks to your clients. You can score them. So you can give them a security score and say, here's your posture today. Here's our plan to get you to here over this amount of time. And here's how we're going to do it. These are all super differentiators. Compliance clients need to prove they have a SIEM. Our reporting allows you to deliver all of the reporting that you need for compliance needs, all of the reporting that you need for your cyber insurance as well. So all of this combined in one tool. And I know MSPs have lots of tools that maybe do parts of these things. But this is a single tool that will help you do all of these things. That's doing it in real time and truly integrated.
Okay. So now you talked about some frameworks. I want to dig into the frameworks a little deeper. So at my MSP, we are really focused on CIS controls. So there's 18 controls, and each of those controls, I've got a spreadsheet that I'm mapping out all the controls, and I'm going to turn it into like this poster that we're going to hang in the NOC, and it's going to be really nice. So with that said, there's like all these different things that we have to do for the different implementation groups, right? So it might say, we have to, gosh, let me just open this sheet because I'm gonna feel like an idiot talking here without my guide in front of me, right?
Well,
So it might say things like, lock computer when walked away, or have password policies, different things. So you said that Seceon is a tool that can do like all the things, but is it checking off all the boxes on all the controls?
it's reporting on all of those things, right?
Gotcha.
So we have something called our AI security EI 360. Okay. And we have preset compliance regulatory frameworks in there. CMMC, HIPAA, PCI, yes, GDPR, all of those things. And we'll analyze and report on those things so that you can show evidence that you've met those needs, whatever they are, or you haven't. And therefore you need a plan in place to get those needs met.
Got it. Now, I am
Brand those if you want. Little side note.
Oh,
Right.
okay.
So it's cool.
So, for example, when it comes to control number 14 for security awareness and skills training, how does Seceon report on that? Is that like a self-reporting? I just check a box and now Seceon will show it, or does that make sense?
Well, it's not reporting on your other tool unless your other tool is delivering information into the platform.
Got it. Okay. So, and it does. I just wanted to ask because it sounded like it was doing all the things,
Well,
but it'll only do what is ingested into the platform.
Yeah, it's reporting on that. So,
Okay.
well, what we ingest, we've got over 200 integrations.
Okay.
So we ingest a lot. If it has an API that we can hook into, we will pull in the information. So to answer, I mean, in a word, yes, we can do what you're asking. But we have to be able to see the data. So we have to be able to pull it in.
Got it. So from an MSP, outside looking in, right? What I think a lot of MSPs, and I say most because if you think about it, more than 50% of MSPs are like 5 or fewer people, right? At least 50% are 5 or fewer people. In fact, 50% could be like one person,
You know
MSPs.
what's interesting about that, and I'm glad you brought that up, because it used to be 80% were less than 10 employees.
Yeah.
Okay. And most of them were less than 5. So
And it's probably even more than that now, only because of the consolidation that's happening at the top.
yeah. So what we've seen is the super small or less than 5 employee MSPs, that number is shrinking.
Mm-hmm.
And the number of MSPs with 5 or 10 or more employees has actually grown a little bit. So that's interesting to me. How we've evolved a little bit.
Yes.
I think
So
that last 5 to 10 years, maybe 5 to 7.
so I always try to look out for the little guy. So we've got let's talk about the 50% that are probably 1 or 2 guys. They just can't do it all. And let's be honest, they're probably not staying up to date with their continuous improvement and training and all that stuff, right? I ran an MSP for 13 years and I'm glad I don't anymore because I got behind. I got behind with the times. And if somebody comes to me, and now that I'm a marketing guy, if somebody says, "Hey, how do I fix this?" I'm like, "I don't know. Did you check the hosts file? It's always DNS." Like,
Right.
like that's the extent of my knowledge. It's always DNS. So with that said, let's talk about the lesser educated MSP. That MSP would like to be able to say, yeah, I've got all these controls in place with CIS and I want to do right by my customer, but I have no idea how.
Mhm.
So what they need is a company like Seceon to come out and say, okay, these are the CIS controls. These are all of the things we integrate with. These are the things that if you pair all of these things together, here's your mega MSP bundle, and all of this will cover all of implementation group 1. This adding these few things will add in implementation group 2, so on and so forth, right? That way, like sometimes MSPs just need it spelled out for them
Mhm.
because we get into this like decision overload, decision fatigue, because we're always worried about what RMM should we choose and what PSA should we choose, that we just run out of gas by the time we get to our cybersecurity stuff. So we need a company to come in and I want to say this is not sponsored. I want to say kudos to Channel Program for at least making their new nav stack, where now you can at least visualize what your stack looks like,
Mhm.
and see, oh, here are the things that they recommend we have, but maybe we don't yet. So now you can start plugging holes that way. But we need a way to do Navistack with compliance.
Right.
Can you
Right.
do it?
I hear you. I, I'm going to flip it a little bit. Because I do think, there's some complexities in there that you're talking about. If I take my vendor hat off for a minute, to talk about, well, what is the core stack? What is acceptable? What do I need to have in place as an MSP to mitigate my risk and also mitigate the risk from the end user. There's no one vendor that is going to do that for an MSP, right? That's probably a whole different conversation. Now, if we want to talk about compliance, is a 1 or 2 man shop going to be taken care of, a 50-person doctor's office that has HIPAA compliance needs? I don't know.
They shouldn't.
Well, so there you go. So I don't know that any vendor is going to be able to do that for that city. Okay. Second included. Simply because it's less about the tool and more about what the MSP organization is doing, both internal with process, procedure, knowledge, all of those. Now, having said that, in a compliance scenario, you have to have a SIEM, period. Whether you're outsourcing it or whether you're insourcing it. Seceon can help with that. And we help in a really nice way with all of the analytics and the reporting that can be done in real time, and the insight that the platform can give you if you're in that compliance scenario. Couple that with the upskill process that you can go through with helping your existing engineers actually learn more and more about how cyber criminals work, what their techniques are, and how to mitigate them.
So I'm gonna ask you some. I'm gonna ask you one question from the comments here. Edward asked, "What size clients would be the sweet spot that your MSP clients could sell to?"
Well, frankly, we are priced at a point where, unless you are very low in what you're charging your clients, any size would work. If just looking at the tool and the price and incorporating it into your stack. Having said that, from a compliance perspective, generally those are larger clients. But you might have a small financial firm. It's just 3 people that has enormous compliance team. We're a great fit in all those scenarios, frankly, from a feature functionality perspective and a pricing model perspective.
And I just want to add to that. I don't know that a size of client matters for a tool like this, as much as do they have compliance needs, or are you just wanting to have cybersecurity across the board for all your clients? That's one thing that I always preach is standardize what you're offering. Whether it's a doctor's office or a manufacturing facility, offer the same level of service to all of your clients. That way, you just know everything's good across the board. That's only going to help the manufacturing company by adhering to the same type of stuff that a doctor's office would with HIPAA.
Yeah, many of our partners, if they mention something, whether it's HIPAA compliance, whatever it is, that's the minimum standard. So if they take on a client that's outside of the HIPAA compliance world, they're still getting the standard, just like you said, Steve. And again, that's taking my vendor hat off, right? That's a conversation about your MSP and what level of risk you're willing to take, how much you want to mitigate that risk. Because a basic core security offering, in my opinion, is the first offering. You can't do much more for your client if you haven't addressed their security needs today. And I don't even know that that's a knowledge gap. That is what's happening in our world, right? Cybercrime has risen to the point where it must be addressed, whether your client is a one-man shop or whether your client has 2,000 endpoints or more. You have to address security, and data is key there, protecting it.
So I've got a few more questions I want to ask before we dive into our demo. How would you say that Seceon's AI and machine learning compare to that of the other cybersecurity vendors out there?
You know, what I say to that, without getting techie, because I'm not a developer, our clients, their testimonials, our partners, will tell you that the efficacy of our ML and our AI and machine learning is top notch. What we're seeing with our partners is, in fact, we had a partner. One of our partners had a previous CEO on the MSP had to replace the original CEO because they niched in legal firms, and one of their legal firms had a breach, a big ransomware event, and it really brought the MSP to their knees, and so they had to reprioritize. They got a new CEO, and they also brought in Seceon, and they charge top dollar to begin with, right? They're dealing with legal firms. They were actually able to double their regular contract rates, and deliver a much higher level of service. So we see this across the board with our partners. The machine learning, the AI, the correlation engines, the algorithms, and you'll see it in the demo. Takes so many events, so many events, and drill down, correlate, and just bubble up, exactly what you need to respond to. There's very few false positives. And then once you know those 6 or 7 things you need to respond to, you can literally leverage the automation in the platform to fix what's wrong. So our partners, are able to reduce their internal costs, right? The people are able to streamline their operations on the security desk or your service desk. And they're able to actually charge more for what they're doing.
That's pretty awesome.
It's a double whammy to the margin.
Now, how does Seceon ensure that its artificial intelligence models are accurate and unbiased? Because I know that's a problem still.
Well, like I said, I'm not the techie one to get into how it's done.
Mm-hmm.
I know our partners tell us that it works for them. But I would have to get you talking to an engineer if you wanted to drill into the technical bits and bytes of how AI and ML works.
Okay.
Or just that person.
Are you aware of any limitations with your AI?
Uh-oh.
Okay. And are you aware of any common challenges that MSPs face when implementing and using Seceon?
Well, SIEM is scary a lot of the times because it is complex. There's no getting around that. Some of the things that we do to mitigate that complexity, one is the automation, the playbooks, the reporting, the things that we've already built in. So you're not starting from scratch. You're actually implementing a tool that has so much of it pre-configured for you that you can start leveraging it right away. So we have that, but we also, we are not a managed SOC organization, and that's not what we want to be. We're a platform developer, but we do have a SOC team. So when you come on as a new partner, our SOC supports you through the whole onboarding process. And we act as your back end, and unless and until you actually get your team upskilled and comfortable and are able to do it all on your own. So we have a pretty robust onboarding program. We'll call it that.
Very cool. Now let's talk about the demo we're going to do today.
Okay.
It's a little, I'll call it unorthodox, because today we're going to play a video instead of doing a live demo.
And that's me. I've been at Seceon about 6 weeks, and I can do a demo. I'm just not real smooth at it. So we did a recording of Tom Ertl. Tom's one of our guys that's doing hormones every day, all day.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that would be best. Get a smooth demo, right? For the audience today.
Sure. Wonderful. So I'm going to kick that off. Guys, for those of you that are still watching live, please feel free to pop your questions into the chat so that way we can do a little more Q&A after this.
This is Tom Ertl from Seceon. I'm here to give you an overview of the Seceon AI XDR platform. First screen we're looking at here is the executive dashboard. This gives you a high-level view of everything that's happening in your environment. At the bottom, the devices you're getting data from. In the middle, data flowing into and out of your environment, so forth. The 3 boxes on the left represent the number of events that have been captured over the last 7 days, over 4 billion pieces of information from logs, flows, user information. Below it is 9.8-ish million threat indicators. Those are things that we've seen that might become part of a failed login, a blacklisted site access, a new scan. At the bottom is the actual number of alerts that were generated over that 7-day period. So 28 alerts, 4 alerts a day. That's very manageable. That's the power of the system, the ML and AI engines, and the correlation, taking all those events, parsing them down to threat indicators, and then turning them into actual alerts where you need to take action. Let's go take a look at log flow collection status. Pull that up. Let's go to larger count here. Let's do 50. So what you're seeing here is all the different log sources, flow sources that the system is ingesting. We're collecting logs, flows, user information. We collect from all your different cloud environments. We have rules built into the system. You don't have to do any rules creation. So that can hopefully save you significant time and money. As I said earlier, we're collecting not just logs, flows, user information. All of that helps us create a much deeper and richer picture of what's going on in your environment. Lets us build behavioral models for every host. We're not signature-based. We catch things based on behavior, so therefore we're going to catch it early. Lastly, we have unsupervised ML and AI, which can hopefully really cut down the number of false positives you're going to see. We get great feedback from our partners that they have very few false positives. That means your team has to spend a lot less time looking into things that aren't actually going to need to have any action taken. Let's go look at alerts. Okay, here you got a high-level snapshot of the alert page. At the top, you get just a graphical look at different types of alerts, and how many are open by severity, different types of closure, open, remediate, and so forth. Below that, you're seeing the actual open alerts. I want to go look at a longer period of time here. So I'm going to go 60 days. I want to look for a particular type. So potential malware infected hosts. So I come here and I can see alerts that fit that profile. Again, you see here, you get a time frame, high level overview, what particular information was relevant in the alert, the user, and so forth. Let's go. We can dig into every one of those and get all the details. So here I've dug into one of the potential malware infected host alerts. One thing I want to highlight here is this origin page. So a tab. So what you see here is what particular information was used in this alert to help us generate it. In some cases, it's user information. Some cases, it's it's log information. In some cases, it's flow information, and in many cases, it's a combination of those. So this actually shows you which types of data were used for this alert. Across here, you're seeing the MITRE techniques. MITRE is a corporation that created a guideline for classifying and describing cyber attacks. We've incorporated this into our alerts, and we're showing you here in red the actual techniques that were used in this alert. Down here, what we actually are showing is all of the activity that was correlated together in software by our machine learning and AI and other engines, all the things that were correlated together to tell us, okay, there's an alert here that needs to have action taken. You can drill down on any one of these. Let's look at blacklisted site access. This is all of the ones that were listed. You could look at every one. You can drill into any one. And here you get a real deep look at exactly what was going on with that particular instance. Source IP, destination IP, here you can actually see the source that told us that this was actually a blacklisted site. And at the bottom here, you always get the MITRE techniques that were used in that threat indicator. Okay, so let's go back. Here we're getting a graphical representation of this host over time. Back here in January, you saw some activity, some blacklisted site accesses, but not enough for us to say that there's anything malicious and action needs to be taken. Here again, another month. Now here in this month, we actually saw enough that we raised our confidence and severity score and said, there's an alert, you need to take some actions. And you could actually drill down on this. I could click on it and go deeper. And so you could keep drilling down to get to the actual day and maybe even minute so that an analyst can get a very quick snapshot of what happened. Once you get here, if you're looking and you decide it's time to take action, you go up here and you click the remediate button. You can go in, you can say, all right, let's see what devices are available for remediation. Here I have a Sonic firewall. Let's click that one. Let's do an EDR, Seceon EDR. Give it a quick comment. And now I can go in and actually see what's going to happen. Here it's showing me the exact rule it's going to push to the Sonic wall firewall. So you can actually take a quick look, validate that it looks good, but it's going to do that. As soon as you push the button, it's going to push that rule out, block access to that blacklisted site. For the EDR, we'd get a different set of instructions, but anyway, everything you selected, you could see what it was going to do. You come down here, you push the update button, and the system is now going to take those actions, and you're going to remediate that attack. And in most cases, long before it ever gets to the point where it's actually hurting anything. Let's go back now. Let's go over and take a look at something called auto remediation. So that was manual remediation, where I actually took a look, I pushed a button, and it happened. Here, I can set up the system to say, okay, from now on, whenever you see a particular type of alert, I can say potential malware infected host, like I was just looking at. I can say from now on, I want to remediate that automatically. I don't want to wait for a human to look at it. I can set that to happen all the time. I can set it to happen after hours. I can set it to happen for a certain day of the week. So it's very programmable. And you can do this for any type of alert. Down here, you see a bunch of different playbooks that have been created for, different confidence scores, different severities, different type of alert, and you can create your own. So those are all in the system. If you want to go in and create your own, let's just pick one here. Here you can see the details of a particular playbook. Get the ransomware alert, check severity, and so forth. Notify the SOC team. And you can add anything you want to this. I could say, okay, notify maybe a different team. I know in your environment, you have multi-contractor environment. You could say, notify this particular contractor if this alert happens. So these can be very specialized to your environment based on what you're looking for. Okay, let's go take a look at reports. We have a lot of different reports in the system. Here just happens to be one, security posture. So I can show, I can have this sent out automatically to a list of people, let's say management or whomever is important and needs to see this. It can be sent out once a week, once a month. So it can be programmed so that this report's going to go out on a regular basis to whoever I want. You can see here just a lot of good information, top hosts with alerts, top users with alerts, location, geographical location. And then at the bottom, you actually get a list of all the alerts generated. Let me go into administration here. I want to show you that the system can be configured to You can go in and you can say, okay, any individual, I can add a new individual, and I can specify what things I want them to get, right? I want them to get SOC reports, remediation reports. I want them to get major alerts, critical alerts, whatever it might be. You can program the system to say, always give this person this event when it happens. So the alerts will happen as soon as the system has detected them. That'll go out to whomever you want it to go out to. You can also, schedule the reports in here as well. That's a brief overview of the system. I hope that was helpful. And thank you very much for your time.
All right. So I've got questions.
Okay.
Now, for me, my eyes start to glaze over when I see all of the threats and everything else, right? So I guess my first question, is that normal for MSPs or is it just me?
I don't know. I don't know what's normal. I don't know. I don't know what's normal. I think that, those that are looking to solve the visibility problem, finding that super helpful. But I think a lot of them operate out of, that screen where the MITRE technique is shown.
Mm-hmm.
There's an actual alert and it gives you the tools to drill down and see what happened and why it happened. And what events led up to it becoming now a critical alert.
Okay.
I'll and maybe use an illustration to kind of illustrate why this is beneficial. Because a lot of the tools today in the MSP space who are doing similar things will stop encryption when it happens. Okay. So we alert you and we stop it. Okay. That's a great thing, right? Not that it's bad, but the encryption's already happening. So what led up to that encryption? Well, last week, something malicious may have been installed on this machine and sat dormant. Well, we would have seen that. We would have said, that doesn't look right. And then the next day, something malicious was installed on your machine, this time from China. That's not right. And then the next day, something else is installed on someone else's machine. And the point here is today's tools in the MSP space are noticing that. Now, what will happen and how a ransom happens is those three little files get installed. They're innocuous. They don't do anything right away. They just sit there. And then all of a sudden there's a trigger, right? And those malicious programs all of a sudden start to encrypt and do their thing. That blast zone could be huge depending on how long it's been there. Mm-hmm. We aren't looking at just encryption or just that particular activity. We're actually looking at all of those things and correlating and saying, wait a minute, these three things just happened. You need to do something about it, whether it's remove it, isolate it, whatever it is. So that's at least a small illustration of how a malicious attack might start, and how real-time remediation, not just alerting, is helpful in that scenario. Because we've alerted you before it actually became a problem, and we reduced the blast zone significantly, if it were to become a problem. And we gave you the tools to actually remediate it, whether you manually press a button to remediate or whether you have the platform do it. All of that is driving efficiency and efficacy in your security services that you're delivering to your end user.
Now, somebody just asked privately, what are your telemetry sources?
Uh, as far as, well, I mean, we're pulling in for anything that has flows or events or, all of that. And then I am not as educated. We have over 30 threat seeds coming in. So I don't know if that's the telemetry they're talking about.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah. So we have, we're pulling in threat feeds. Like I said, I think we have over 30 of them.
Understood. When I looked at the executive dashboard, that was the first dashboard that he started on. And he was like, here's all these millions of threats, but we pared it down to like 28. Am I looking at the dashboard for one client or for all of my clients, or what am I looking at there?
That was one client, but that's also our demo stack, right? So we're putting malware in it. We're making it, worse than what you would, just to demonstrate how the platform works, right? So on the Seceon systems, we're injecting malware. We're doing things to demonstrate how our system is doing the work. But those are, so the billions, those are like events. Those are things that are happening. Whatever they are, a user logged in, an application logged, whatever's happening. They may or may not need that, if you will. And then kind of that middle bar was, here's all these billions of things happening. Here's a couple 100,000 that kind of look interesting. Like they may or may not be a thing. And then it distills down to, okay, no, these things happened in this particular order. They're definitely a thing that you need to look at and remediation.
Okay, so he clarified his question for me. That's the threat intel. He wants to know what data you're getting from the environment. And I said, oh, okay, well, they integrate with 200 plus tools. And he said, well, yeah, but like, where? So is it getting like Windows logs, sysmon, syslog?
Yeah. So your operating systems, your firewalls, whatever your cloud stuff is, your applications, whatever they are. Hopefully that helps. I mean, it's whatever your, Active Directory, anything that's creating a flow or a log or an event.
And I'm cheating. I'm using Google Bard. So according to Google Bard, Seceon supports a variety of endpoint agents for Windows, Mac OS, and Linux. And those agents collect a variety of telemetry data such as process activity, file activity, network traffic, and user activity. And then it also can pull logs from network devices such as firewalls and routers. So that can be used to detect suspicious network activity such as malware infections and data exfiltration attempts. It can connect with cloud environments. So collect telemetry from cloud environments such as AWS, Azure, and GCP, Google Cloud Platform. This data can be used to detect and respond to threats in the cloud, email systems, Microsoft Exchange, Microsoft 365, Google Workspace, used to detect and respond to email-borne threats such as phishing attacks and malware infections. In addition to these sources, Seceon can also collect telemetry from a variety of other security solutions, such as firewalls, intrusion detection systems, and web proxies. It uses a variety of techniques to collect and analyze telemetry data, including real-time analysis, machine learning, and threat intelligence. Does that sound right?
Well, it is. I mean, yeah, yeah. So
I always get nervous when I ask AI questions, like.
I mean, yeah, you can, yes. I mean, there's a list of things. So anything that creates a flow, a log, an event, whether it's in the cloud, an application, whether it's a piece of hardware, whether it's Active Directory, an operating system. Yeah, I mean, we're saying the same thing. We just got way more technical in the list.
Yeah. And I think that's going to happen when, now I've got an MSSP asking me questions, right? So now you and I are both like,
No. Look, if I can't answer it, I'd be happy to pair you up with one of our engineers, and really go through, and answer those more technical questions for sure.
Cool.
I will tell you, our MSSPs, it's the same scenario because of the automation. You can deliver the same service at quite a much lower cost, right?
Gotcha.
Fewer people, and got the automation and intelligence built in.
Well, I think we've kept them in suspense for long enough. Let's talk about one final thing. The price.
Yeah.
What does this thing cost for an MSP that wants to sign up and be a partner?
So we do a per user model, for most MSPs. And when I say most MSPs, when you get into really large environments, sometimes a per device, is more, cost effective for them. But in general, it's a per user, price. And it comes to about $8 per user per month on the low end. As we scale up, you get more of a price break.
Okay.
More users, less per user.
And you might have said it and then just, are there minimums?
We have a minimum buy-in, and it's 25 users. So
okay. And that's 25 at 8?
Correct.
Okay. So $200 a month, that's reasonable for what you guys are claiming to offer.
Yeah.
And contract?
We go month to month.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
That's
it's a hosted model, right? So, it's all in our cloud, or, we do have a model where you can host it in your infrastructure if you'd like. So,
and for people that are really concerned or just have extra strict compliance requirements, that is definitely a good thing to know.
Right.
Cool. Is there anything else that you think MSPs need to hear about your platform?
I would just say, don't be afraid when you hear SIEM or see SIEM. I think today with the automation and or AI and machine learning, anyway, it's not as scary as it used to be. That's what I would say.
Very awesome. Thank you so much for coming on here. Let's see if I can do this right. Here we go. Now we got the music coming in. All right. So, Amy, thanks so much for popping on here with me today. For those of you that want to learn more, you can go to Seceon.com, Seceon.com. And do you guys have a trial or just a demo?
No, you can try it. We can do demos and or trials and do a full evaluation.
Wonderful. I love when we can get a full evaluation and do like a real proof of concept to see how is this going to work for my MSP. And I'm gonna talk to my MSP and see if this is something that we want to check out too.
Yeah, we have a new program. Not look for it unless it's going to help you out even more with regard to that question.
Wonderful. And if it helps, there's an MSSP who has a staffing agency he hires his SOC analysts from. They're trained on Seceon.
Oh, interesting.
So there you go.
Yeah.
There you go. This is the real deal, guys. So go check out Seceon. Thanks so much for popping on here today, guys. You have yourselves a great day.